says that, oh yeah, this would be tornado lofted debris. I don't see that right now, but still remain in your safe spot. You know, here's Highway 64. This is hugging 64, this storm. Moving right down 64, Etheridge, so you'll get this in time, Lawrenceburg, and then you can see eventually up toward Linville, northern Giles County. You know, if you ever go down to the Gulf Coast, you're going to go right by Lewisburg and Linville on 65. This storm is going to eventually get the interstate.
There's a new tornado warning out, Dan. Sorry to interrupt you.
Oh, you're fine. Okay, so that's for the Cannon and Warren and southern DeKalb storm. This looks like it has a really good hook, you know, Stefano.
Let me pop that off real quick so you can get a...
That's fantastic. So, I mean, it's terrible news, but it's a good signature for a tornado, and it looks like it's going to get just north of Woodbury. So, Woodbury, you got to be in your safe spot, and then there's 145. And so, we've got a bunch of Cannon County cameras around Woodbury, and I don't know, and one is, you know, they're not ours, but they're run by the Cannon County severe weather folks, essentially. One points to the northeast, one is northwest, one is southwest, one is southeast. I don't know if we can try to get something on this storm and see if we're able to see any lowering in the clouds as it moves on by. They're great live cameras to use, and so you can see that's circulation. Thank you so much. We got folks in the back working on those cameras right now.
Throw a track on this for you here.
Thank you. So Murfreesboro Road.
Just moved on us with the new schedule.
Yep, this Kittrell, you know, there's 145. So east of there, there's Green Hill. So once you get out of Cannon County, we're talking about Green Hill. But this is not going to get Green Hill, or it may get just north of Green Hill as it crosses 56. But in that east-northeast direction, there's DeKalb County right here. And so it's pretty rural out here. You know, once that zooms on by, sorry, Stefano, I'm going to go back here, 1247, 1248 Cannon County High School in 5 minutes or so. And then Green Hill, you're in this big polygon that grows over time. And so, yes, we've got to keep our eyes on this, but it's a lot of open terrain out here, and we'll see what that camera shows. And really good inbounds and outbounds, probably about 90 miles an hour of rotation, and it's relatively tight in this little window. There's 37, and then we see 42. So there's Stefano's pulled up about 79, 80 miles an hour of rotation right here with that circulation. Highway 70, so that goes back to the west. And then 145. So it's a long 70 and about to intersect with 145. Almost right over Woodbury. And so let us know, you know, if anything happens once it moves on by. But you got to be in your safe spot. Have to be there right now. Everybody just stay calm. Just get the family up. Say, hey, we got to go to our safe spot. Everybody move with a purpose. Move quickly. Get there. And then we'll all just hunker down. You can watch us on a smart device and an iPad. You can watch us on your smartphone, whether it's a Droid or Apple iPhone, it doesn't matter. You can still pull us up on WSMV.com. We're streaming right now on the WSMV4 app that's free, and it's 2 clicks. I think you click close a little advertisement or something at the beginning and then watch live, and you're watching it. That easy. Tornado warning here, tornado warning here. This one's until 1:30. So we have a few counties in this one, this other one here in Lawrence and Wayne and southern portions of Lewis County until 1:15. Current time is 12:45. So we have about 30 minutes to go on that one, a little longer with this one. But it's about maybe 12 counties that we have to watch, maybe 15 at most, that still have that severe potential here in Middle Tennessee. Stefano?
And like you talked about, Dan, it's all of that sort of untapped air that's out in these counties that are off to the east. So we're still looking at areas like Cannon County, Warren, Coffee, and Franklin Moore, Van Buren, and even White County as well. All of these areas down to the south and west near Lawrence County, Giles County. Storms not yet working their way through these areas. The National Weather Service saying that because of that, and the backing wind that's coming in behind some of these storms, it's going to give us more of an increased tornado threat in these areas over the next couple of hours. And Dan said it earlier on, you know, we've probably got another 2.5, 3 hours to go before storms completely clear out of the mid-state areas that are off to the north and east and the northeast portions of the plateau, Cookeville, Jamestown. We've certainly got some loud thunderstorms, but we don't have anything here regarding any severe storms or any threats of tornadoes in those areas is right now. Right at this point when we're talking, if we're going to look at the two storms, the one that is a little bit more concerning, at least to the naked eye at this point, is this tornado warning that is in effect. This part goes into parts of Cannon County. It's right near Woodbury right now, going to go just north of Centertown and Green Hill. This is the storm that has some pretty good rotation in there. Dan talked about the inflows and outflows here that are just over Woodbury. That shows us that the storm is spinning, it's rotating. It does have the capability of maybe dropping a tornado. At this point, there is no tornado reported on the ground, but if you do live in Cannon and into Warren counties, you do need to think about getting into your safe space immediately here. Lowest level of your home, again, will be the best bet for you. A basement, if you do have one. For those that don't, and I know many of us don't, first floor of your home, an interior room. Maybe a pantry, a powder room if you have it, away from any and all windows, and make sure that you are protecting your head from any flying debris. You can use blankets and pillows, and maybe if the kids have a bike or a hockey helmet hanging around, maybe a baseball helmet as we get closer in the baseball season. Here's that center of rotation. It's just to the north and west right now of Woodbury. So couple of areas. Looks like Brysonville. We are clear from the rotation. So if you're in Brysonville, while we're still certainly getting that very heavy rainfall, we're not getting anything as far as tornado warnings are concerned. That's storm scan, Dan, you said?
It doesn't take storm scan. It shows the lowering, but it's just that you don't see any.
See if you guys, if you can hear us, take storm scan here. I'll make this full screen for us too, Dan. That way we can get it out of here. But the storm scan computer, guys, if you can pull that up, this is in parts of Cannon County. Another name?
3D storm scan.
3D storm scan should be in there. While they're looking that up here, let's kind of start naming some areas again. As I mentioned, if you live in Brysonville, clear from that rotation. Looks like the rotation is beginning to clear through Woodbury right now, but Sugar Tree, Knob, Pleasant Ridge, Crossroads, Half Acre, all of these areas are sitting into, yes, that's it. Thank you very much. And Dan, you were pointing out this just a couple seconds ago here. You can kind of see the lowering. I think the video,
just froze.
Yeah, may have froze a little bit. So if we reset that, this is coming from the folks at Cannon County Severe Weather. This still will paint a pretty good picture. You can see with the 4 screens there, just look at all of the lightning that has fired up with these thunderstorms. I mean, these things are so electric, and remember, those lightning strikes in themselves very well could create some power outages. So you've got the lightning component. We've got the damaging wind component with these storms as well, of 60 miles per hour or more. We've had a lot of reports of really what is some damaging hail. I mean, half an inch to an inch an inch and a half to 2 inches in size. But what Dan is showing you right now is, and this is what makes these tornadoes so dangerous, is you can't, or these tornado warning storms, you can't see anything until the lightning strikes actually hit and illuminate the sky in the background. That's why that these nocturnal tornado warnings are so dangerous, and nocturnal tornadoes are twice as deadly as other ones. And with the rotation detector right now, here's all of these areas we were just talking about. Again, this is a tornado warning for Cannon and Warren counties. The current time is 12:50. It goes until 1:30. So your Sugar Tree, Knob, Half Acre, Crossroads. I want to get out of the way so I can name some more roads for you. The rotation clearing Woodbury probably at this point as we wait for a new scan to come in. But there's Stones River Road. You have Mason Hollow Road, Glassway Road, Seals Hollow Road. So if you recognize or live near any of these roadways, Cannon into Warren County, it is now time to get into your safe place at this hour. There's looks like State Route 146, Blue Hill Road. There's Half Acre Road. This will continue to Green Hill, Blue Springs, Underhill Road, West Green Hill Road as well. There's 56. It's right at the edge of that tornado warning into Warren County, and looks like we'll see kind of what that ends up doing as it gets a little bit closer. But what Dan is showing you right now is where that center of circulation is kind of tracking to. So it's north of Woodbury right now. It's moving a little bit off to the north and east, and it looks like it would just come just to the north of Green Hill. When you throw things in motion like Dan is doing right now, it does paint that good picture of the exact track of that. And you can actually see the rotation tightening up as well. It really does look like over the last scan or two, Dan, that rotation in there, if we can get some of that gate-to-gate looking in there, it's probably up to about 90, maybe even 100 miles per hour at this point. This is another view of that rotation detector that Dan is showing you. This is just a different way to show you where the core of that rotation is, and I think the key to look at this is the more that this lights up, the tighter that rotation is. When you get some of those brighter greens and those reds in there, those are the areas that are of main concern. So Pleasant Ridge, Sugar Tree, Knob as well. It's probably a little bit farther east of some of these areas with the current scan here, but there's that gate-to-gate shear we're talking about, and yeah, you're upwards of 90 miles per hour, 57 one direction, 30 in the other direction, so you know, you're 85, 90 miles per hour. So at least telling us that this storm's rotation is tightening up and kind of spinning like a top is how these things work. You know, when a top is slowing down, it tends to wobble. It's not very well organized, but when a top starts to spin faster and faster, you know, that rotation just tightens up more and more, and that's kind of what shows you that this storm is still thriving in this environment, this energy-rich environment. It's probably going to split the gap between Smithville and Green Hill and cut right along 56. So, I mean, as Dan was talking about earlier on here, if you ever travel up and down those areas, maybe if you're just headed down south toward the Gulf Coast, I'm sure a lot of us have impacted those before. It looks like it would continue south of 70, but then we look out to areas like Sparta, Doyle, down through Spencer as well. I know it's out of the necessarily tornado-warned zone right now, but all of this air out here is still very unstable. There hasn't been a whole lot, and all of this green you're seeing may not even necessarily be reaching the ground. If you can get a decent vantage point in some of these areas and look off to the west, you can probably get a good view of some of that lightning that's coming down off to the west at this point. These storms are certainly packing a tremendous amount of lightning, and honestly, the amount of lightning that you're seeing can really tell you what these storms are actually doing as far as strength is concerned. And with the track that Dan just showed, it does look like now it's going to, and you can see the tornado warning polygon there does include the lower portions of DeKalb County. So there you go. The National Weather Service actually, if you go back to that, Dan, I think they just redrew the warning zone to get into that center of circulation. I think that just happened here just a second ago. Yeah, so, okay, so now we're into the eastern portions right now of Cannon County, the northern portions of Warren County, and getting into the southern portions of DeKalb County. So what the National Weather Service done is, because that rotation has tightened up a little bit more, they're able to narrow down the areas that are most at risk. So there's Green Hill again. Woodbury, you're still definitely getting a lot of heavy rainfall, a lot of lightning. There could be some hail in there as well, but now the areas of concern are off to the east, right where that X was drawn. It passed over 145 not that long ago, and it is headed east. I think still moving at about 40, 45 miles per hour. Not a whole lot has changed as far as the speed is concerned, but this is a great view with First Alert Live radar. You can see the inflow notch in this thunderstorm. This is where that storm is sucking in a lot of air. It's a lot of warm and moist air. It's unstable air as well, and when that happens, it tells us not only is this storm bringing in a lot of moisture and a lot of unstable air, but an inflow notch like that, also the air has to go somewhere. So where does it go? Well, it goes up, and when it goes up, it takes any rotation, turns it vertically, and that's how you actually end up getting a tornado. Man, you can really see the echo top growing with this one as well. It's upwards of 30,000 feet right now. Probably a good hail core in there, a nice anvil with that cloud, and again, there's that inflow notch, Dan. Just right there, you can really get a good look at where this storm is bringing in all of that air, and if it's going to drop a tornado, it's going to be somewhere right in there as well. But those deep reds and pinks that you're seeing, that's the hail core in there. We haven't had any reports of hail from this particular storm, but the storms that have been coming through last evening into the overnight, and technically what is early this morning now that we're past the midnight hour, we're getting an inch and a half, 2-inch size hail reports, and that's enough to cause some car damage, maybe some roof damage in some areas, and just really probably one of the better rotations that we've seen. We still have a lot of storms that are down to the south right now. That are really just entering an extremely unstable environment. Guys, I don't know if you can get rid of this lower third for me just so we can get a better picture of what the whole area is looking like. Thank you very much. I really do appreciate that, and I know the folks at home do as well. Look at all of this clear air that's out ahead of a lot of this, you know, from Lawrenceburg, Manchester, and McMinnville as well. You know, if this sounds a little strange, but if you're a NASCAR fan, you know, there's some of those tracks here where you get into that clear air and these cars, you know, they go so much faster, these stock cars, and these storms are pretty much the same exact way. You get into this clear air, there's nothing really preventing you from gaining speed, from gaining energy, gaining rotation as well. So all of these locations from Manchester, McMinnville, even up to Crossville, I'd say as well, you know, you get into Franklin, Moore, and Lincoln counties, all of these locations as well. Totally untapped environment with these thunderstorms. We still have this tornado warning, by the way, that's into parts of Lawrence County as well. It looks like it's just including most of Lawrence County. Haven't seen a whole lot in the way of circulation, but up near the Napier area, that's a lot of lightning. There's most likely some pretty good hail in there. I think the rotation just to the west of the Etheridge area, it's right along 64 at this point. It's maybe just north of Lawrenceburg. We're a little far out from the radar. So, yeah, I'd say right where Dan just drew is a pretty good bet here, right in between. Where you have that gate-to-gate shear, as we call it, or the easier way to say it, the twisting and turning winds within a thunderstorm. So again, that's into Lawrence County. We'll see how long that one actually does stick around for here. Current time 12:58. That warning set to expire at 1:30 this morning. I'll tell you what, that storm, while the rotation may not look great, it's got a ton of lightning with it, as all of these storms have, and certainly probably some good heavy rainfall as well. You know, a lot of people are waking up to these storms. A lot of people are having a tough time going to bed in these storms, I'm sure, as well. And I think another storm to watch right now is a little farther to the east. Lewisburg, Palmetto, heads up in Shelbyville. If you're awake in Shelbyville right now, if you're awake in Bedford County and, well, Marshall County, I'm sure a lot of folks are awake, but from Bell Buckle, War Trace, Pleasant Grove, I know there's not a lot as far as warnings are concerned, but it does look like that this storm is gaining some energy with it. No tornado warning on that right now, but maybe just to the west of Shelbyville. I want to throw on the rotation detector. It's nothing that really grabs my attention, but might be just the slightest hint of an inflow notch there just to the west of Shelbyville. That's an area to watch, I think. There's nothing of interest there right now, maybe some small hail, but not a whole lot other than that at this point. Let's talk about where we're clear, and then we can go back to some of these warnings. Downtown Nashville, we're good. Hendersonville, Clarksville, Hopkinsville, Waverly Parish, you'll probably hear some rumbles of thunder, but the severe threat is over. Areas west of this line, we are good. McEwen, Dixon, Houston County, Stewart County, Benton, Perry, Decatur, Lewis. All of those areas west of 65, north and along of I-40, we're good and done with this round of severe weather. Remember, there's more coming through the middle and the end of this week. We have a whole slew of issues to talk about on WSMV 4 today, which starts at 4 o'clock. But for now, we're focused on these tornado warnings that are still in effect, Dan.
Well, so we see what we have right now for the warnings out there, and we see a bunch of counties where we haven't had a whole lot. Manchester, Tullahoma, Fayetteville. I think the worst weather in the next 2 hours is going to happen in this zone right in through here where nothing is going on. So heads up Manchester, heads up Tullahoma. I know it's not ideal, but this is not the time to turn off the coverage and go to sleep. This is the time to just stay with us, and we'll let you know when you have the all clear. For Manchester and Tullahoma, it's not going to be terribly long, but I think it's a lot longer in Altamont and then down toward Winchester and Sherwood and those general areas too. Still quite a bit of lightning keeping people awake in Rutherford County. There's Murfreesboro. Look at all that lightning. Total strikes for the map in the last 20 minutes is about 500. A lot more strikes of lightning with this cell here, and then you add to it this cell here. This is the tornado warned one that Stefano just referenced, now in Lawrence County. So Etheridge, it's right over you. The most dangerous part of the storm looks like it's around Etheridge or just east of there. So here's Etheridge. All right, so it's about to move right over Etheridge, and you can see it sliding your way. Rotation right here could be a tornado in progress. With this, again, the rotation is a good distance from the radar, so it's not as apparent as it is with that other cell we just tracked moving out of Cannon County. But this is the area we're watching on the north side of Etheridge, moving to the east and eventually getting into parts of, well, it looks like Murray County and parts of Giles County as well. East-northeast up toward Culleoka, in time to cross Highway 31. So Southport, you're in this track at 126. And the current time is just after 1 o'clock in the morning. A very noisy storm. Even if there's no tornado, it's going to dump a lot of rain and really get your attention. Notice the bow here. We got to watch this bow. That's going to hit Etheridge, no question about it. Maybe even the north side of Lawrenceburg. We'll have to get reports. We know we have a good relationship with the folks with the Tennessee Valley Weather Authority. I know they're tracking this there as well, and they'll let us know if we have power outages. But I wouldn't be surprised as it moves to the east, as it crosses, these roads here, that we actually get some power outages. Some of the gusty winds with that bow moving along, maybe gusting to 60 or 70 miles an hour. Anytime you see a bow, that's really concerning for damaging wind gusts. It's a little more broken in coverage back toward Waynesboro, the south side of Wayne County. Looks a little more messy for the radar picture, which is a good thing. That means it's a little less organized and therefore probably a lower chance of being severe. But still, we have the severe thunderstorm warning for that cell there. A big severe thunderstorm warning all the way up to Columbia, not quite to Columbia, the south side of Columbia. Mount Pleasant is in that. Then it stops at Lewisburg. For the time being, it looks like Marshall County. This is surprising. Is there no warning for this?
They're about to warn that right now.
Okay, because I'm just trying to figure out why we don't have a warning for that nasty-looking cell. So Shelbyville, you're about to get some sort of what, severe?
Yeah, severe thunderstorm warning. Like I talked about earlier, it's got a notch near Shelbyville.
Yeah, yeah.
I'll zoom in a little bit so you can get a better view.
Sure.
But it's just not tight enough of rotation right now for a tornado warning.
Okay, so a little notch right around 231, downtown Shelbyville. And so you don't need to get to your safe spot, but this, I promise you, is going to make a lot of noise. You hear it already. You've been awoken. Pleasant Grove, you're in the same boat. Wartrace and Bell Buckle. Everybody hears the thunder out there, and you still have to deal with the rain. So there could be some hail. All these little clusters of black and bright pink especially, but the black areas have been good for at least nickel size, and in some cases quarter size and even golf ball size hail tonight. This hail tracker not showing a whole lot, but I wouldn't be surprised if that changes in time. You can see right here north of Shelbyville, north side, there could be some nickel size hail conceivably with that there. We have another tornado warning up here, so this is the one we're tracking out of Cannon County. Now the most dangerous part of that storm is almost on top of Green Hill, Highway 56. So we watch this area a lot. See the rotation right here inbounds toward the radar, and then red colors away from the radar. That rotation, the outbounds is what I'm trying to say. And that's going to cross 56 here momentarily, staying south of 70 in all likelihood, or at least for a while. So northern parts of Warren County is what we're talking about, north of McMinnville, safely north of McMinnville. McMinnville, you have a severe thunderstorm warning, but you're not in this tornado warning that goes to Green Hill and back toward Woodbury. Again, in Woodbury, you can come out of your safe spot. You are totally good to go. It's east of you now that we're really focused on the potential for a tornado warning. Tornado warning continues until 1:30 5:30 in the morning with that. There's Spencer, or Sparta, I should say. There's Doyle. There's Spencer along Highway 111. In time, this thing's going to cross 111. And so then we're getting into the higher terrain, the higher elevations of the Cumberland Plateau as it moves along. So it's going to ascend all that terrain in time. Now, we have some lightning out here. Looks like there's a little more lightning on the backside of this, but it's that same cell that we're tracking into White County. So in time, White County, this Sparta, Doyle, and then down into Van Buren County, Spencer will in time probably call your name. Right now, you have a severe thunderstorm warning, and it's a big one. And so you can see the outer fringe of that, and it gets Spencer down toward McMinnville. It's actually a huge warning, and it's all because of this storm complex that's coming in. Watch out, the northern half of Warren County. There's a big bow right here, and so there could be some tremendously strong wind moving along, crossing 56 momentarily, and then in time getting to 70. What are these outbounds? Are these good for about 75? Okay, 72. Right. Unbelievable wind with some of these storms tonight, and it's going to roll due east and get a big part of the, this general section of Middle Tennessee. 2 in the morning is when that severe thunderstorm warning expires, and there it's going to be on the Cumberland Plateau when that happens. Morrison, you're in fine shape in southwestern sections of Warren County, and then we get into Manchester. It's coming in, so you're in that severe thunderstorm warning right now. Is this in effect until 2 in the morning as well for Manchester? Tullahoma? Okay, so a big cluster of territory there. 2 o'clock in the morning is when that expires. This little notch on the north side of Shelbyville, it's something to watch, but right now it doesn't look as pronounced as some of the other notches that we've had tonight. And then notice back into the just regular rain. It's a thunderstorm. There's a lot of cloud-to-ground lightning up and through here, but also cloud-to-cloud lightning. So even after the chance of severe weather's moved on by, it's done in Murfreesboro for severe. It's still so noisy there, and it's going to be noisy for a time, especially east and south of you. Christiana, Bradyville, south of Woodbury there in Cannon County. Still noisy.
They didn't cancel that tornado warning. Cannon, DeKalb, Warren, that tornado warning's canceled. Canceled,
okay. So what do we have for tornado warnings? Is it just down toward Lawrence? Where are we at?
It's just this one in Lawrenceburg at this point. It's near...
In Lawrence and Lewis counties?
Yes.
Okay, Lawrence and Lewis counties until 1:15, so 7 more minutes, and we'll see what happens with that. Okay, wow, looks like... It's some tree damage or something like that over, okay, Pinewood Road. So that's, I'm not sure where we're seeing some, I'm looking to the side at a monitor that has a feed from the Weather Service, and a lot of the EMA folks and pictures come in. So that's what I'm looking at right now, and it's tough to resolve what happened there, but it looks like some wind damage. So we've got wind damage. Stefano, can we take the top-down view and look at all the storm reports? I know the folks at the Weather Service are so busy right now, but let's see what they've typed up, because they got to type these things up and to send them out. So a bunch of W's indicative of the confirmed wind damage. There was a lot out toward Fairview. I'm curious what those are. The H's are hail reports, a lot of those Franklin over toward Nolensville, and a lot more of those back toward Southwest Kentucky. Tons of those today, West Tennessee. And we zoom out, let's take the regional view. And so we talked about for about 4 or 5 days how we had a level 3 potential for severe weather for a massive quarter of the country. And it's happened today. It's obviously happened. It's moving through here, moving through our area. Mississippi and Alabama have missed most of this, but I think storms will grow a little farther south. There's a little cap in the atmosphere, a little lid is what we call it, limiting storm development. But I think as the cold front pushes down, even there we'll see some storms.
You'll get more reports as the sun comes up. If we start, we're in the middle of the night, so not a lot of people are. I know it doesn't look like a lot in our area right now compared to the areas west, but there's a lot of spots that still haven't had reports yet, simply just because of the time of the night that it actually is in. So most likely a lot more reports than what we're seeing. But I want to bring it back over to Dan at the wall here so we can get back into some of these storms that have developed.
Right. So we've got this cluster of severe thunderstorm warnings. Now, notice the upper Cumberland Plateau. It's not severe. South Central Kentucky, let's show them that this is all non-severe. So we're talking about Cumberland, Clinton, Monroe counties. We're all just in rain up and through here. And then here's the upper plateau. Non-severe, just beneficial rain. And then we get to just west of Cumberland County. There's Putnam County. So Cookeville, you're getting clipped by some heavy downpours just below severe limits, at least for now. And then we have this cluster of severe thunderstorm warnings in the orange. That's the color that we share with you for the severe thunderstorm warnings on WSMV4. And then a big severe thunderstorm warning with this very small tornado warning. Lawrence, Lewis, I don't know if the southwestern little corner of Murray County is in that or not, but it's did they trim that out? It looks like it is not. So just those two counties in this until 1:15, another 4 minutes. And it would be, my guess is somewhere right around here. What is this road here? Can we identify this road that's out of Etheridge? Is that 31?
43, I think. Let me see. Let's get in closer just to double check. But I thought I saw 43.
It says...
It's New Lawrenceburg Highway.
Okay.
I think that's 43.
All right.
Yeah, it's 43.
Okay. All right. So that is the road where this thing is sitting right on top of, around Etheridge, and it's moving toward the north side of Giles County. So there's also some sort of indication now on the east side of Lawrenceburg along 64, there could be another circulation trying to form up there. So we got to watch that too. But it's this general area around the tornado warning in it, and a little farther south, just interesting spots that we've got our eyes on right here at WSMV4. So sometimes you get a little cluster of storms that has an area of rotation, then one develops farther south. You know, that can happen, and then it takes the attention away from the northern one, takes the energy away sometimes as well. But a lot of electricity with this, a lot of lightning, a lot of thunder, moving toward McMinnville. There's Pulaski. And we have a, let's see, we have a question about you. Okay.
It looks from the Murray County Emergency Management.
Gotcha.
Damage to structures, electrical poles down, multiple trees in Murray County. Cross Bridges Road impassable at this point.
Got it. That's from the Murray County OEM folks. So if we can get, I know they're busy, but if we can get the sheriff's office in Murray County on the phone, we'll get a lot more info, is my guess. Specific information, even in addition to that. Maybe they've got people headed to the scene. So
very interesting too, because there's not a whole lot going on in Murray County right now. So this is, you know, from what's come through
right
previously.
You know, and it's curious. I'm wondering where Cross Bridges Road is.
Let me look it up while you're...
Yeah, outside of Columbia, where that is, because, you know, we were tracking some really good rotation before approaching Columbia, like a concerning amount, and then it shifted to the east and sort of fell apart. We get a number of clusters of storms. There's Columbia, Spring Hill, Thompson Station, just rain. Really strong stuff. Bradyville down into Shelbyville. You know, there's got to be some hail with this in Shelbyville. On the east side, north of it too, you can see just clusters of those little black cores of probably quarter-size hail. We've had a whole bunch of hail reports tonight.
A lot of hail reports. So what you were asking, Cross Bridges Road, just to the west of Columbia, that's in Murray County. So I want to see if I can get a tighter zoom in here. It's kind of like at some point find a needle in a haystack when you get, you know, you're going this wide out to try to go this deep in here. But it's just west of Columbia is where Cross Bridges Road. So if you do live in this area, and this is kind of what Dan and I were just talking about, a lot of the storm reports that you're seeing here in the mid-state compared to what may be out west, we haven't had as many because it's still the middle of the night. It's 1:15 in the morning. So there's a lot of folks asleep. There's a lot of folks that may be without power. but we're not sure what's causing that right now. Is it a tree limb that fell on a transformer, or is it an entire tree that fell down and caused some problems? So what I want to do here, and one of the new things we can do, is we can actually look at the current power outages. So let me see what I can find here for the county power outages across the mid-state. I'm going to turn off the lightning. If you guys could you take it full screen for me, just so we can kind of click around here and get just a general idea. So this is in Davidson County, got about 500 customers without power. You get down to Murray County around the Columbia area and obviously the surrounding areas as well. You're at about 1,500 folks, and these are just customers that are without power. Elsewhere, I would say you're about the same. When you get to Hickman County, about 200-300. You get about 900 folks without power in Williamson, Rutherford County at about 700. We can actually look at the state overall, since there's been so much going on across the state of Tennessee, as we talked about for so many days prior to this. About 7,000 customers that are without power in parts of Kentucky as well. It's probably a little bit lower of a number in those areas, but oh no, it's a little bit higher. Excuse me, I got the color palette mixed up. It's about 17,000 people in parts of Kentucky that are without power. As Dan and I have talked about so much here over the last hour or two, it's this area that's east of Lawrenceburg, of Manchester, you know, your Tullahoma, your Fayetteville, all of these locations. They're still really going to be in kind of the line of fire with this round of storms. There hasn't been a whole lot of activity when you get into areas like Giles County. Of course, that is about to change very rapidly for us. The same as you get into parts of Bedford and Coffee County, Moore, Franklin, Lincoln counties. So I don't think the tornado threat is done yet. It's certainly, you know, not as widespread of a threat anymore as what it was earlier in the night when most of the mid-state hadn't seen any rainfall. But all of these storms that you're seeing that are still within view are still packing a lot of lightning. 547. One of the more interesting things that I like to follow, and I think a lot of us have really kind of started to get more of a grasp on, is when these storms start to lose their lightning, it's a good indication that they're at least beginning to weaken. They may not be totally doing so because they can recycle their energy. But from what I'm seeing with a lot of these storms that we're talking about and these severe thunderstorm warnings like this particular one, I'm going to switch back over to First Alert Live Radar, the one that we have in Nolensville, because I think this just does paint a little bit better of a picture of what's going on inside of these storms. And that's really what's so important about us having our own radar here at WSMV. We're getting you scans within these storms up to 5 minutes faster than what you're getting from some of the radar sites that are elsewhere. So it gives us not only a better look inside these storms, but it also gives us a better look at how these are tracking, where their current position is. So we still have this severe thunderstorm warning right now. Now, this has moved out of Marshall County, but it is really causing a lot of problems most likely right now in Bedford County. It's moving into Coffee County. It's in the southern portions of, looks like, Rutherford and Cannon counties as well. It's going to continue toward Warren County. So McMinnville, Manchester, Tullahoma, all of these areas still have yet to see much of anything this evening and overnight. And now it's coming our way. There's probably some pretty good-sized hail in this, and you can really get a good look at that with our storm threats. Let me turn the lightning off. That's how much lightning there is, by the way, that we're really just seeing so many problems, even getting a good look inside some of these storms when we have the lightning detector on. But this is showing our storm threats an inch to an inch and a half in size of hail. Now, one thing that we've also learned is that the radar can over-exaggerate these just a little bit. Things aren't perfect. It's always a work in progress in some capacity to get these to optimum performance, but it still tells us there's hail in here. I'd say you're probably about maybe a half to 3/4 inch in size, maybe up to an inch in size in hail. So, probably not enough to cause damage to your car, but certainly enough to see come down. Probably right over War Trace right now. There's 55. It's right along 41 near Shelbyville. About to cross over 24. It actually already has in some aspects. So let's get a better look here from Christiana down through Manchester. You know, if you ever travel 24 in either of those directions, maybe coming into downtown Nashville, that's where that cluster of storms is right now. It continues to work its way to the east. It'll eventually get out near areas like Altamont. Of course, that's very, very far out, at least at this point. And it does look like a little farther to the north. You know, we've been talking about these areas out toward the plateau. National Weather Service issued a special weather statement for Putnam County and Cookeville, but it does look like that there's no severe threat with that. In Hickman County, Dixon County, severe weather just got a minor roof damage. We got a picture of that in. That was near Fairview Boulevard. That's Highway 100, very close to Liberty Road. So as we were just talking about earlier on, a lot of folks that are back to the west, we're clear of severe weather for now, though there is a pretty good storm that's fired up once again back near the Waverly area. I don't necessarily see that getting to any kind of severe level, and it's mainly because the atmosphere is just simply tapped out in that location. So I do think that in those areas, we're going to start to get more storm reports as the storms finally get out of those locations and people are waking up and they're getting outside and they're seeing the damage. What will happen as we hit daylight hours is the amount of storm reports is probably going to exponentially grow, but it's all of these areas that are down to the south from Lawrenceburg, you get into Franklin, Moore, Lincoln counties. This is really the main area that's left of concern at this point. I would say maybe about 6 or 7 counties that are still left with the worst of this as we get up toward the plateau. Some very loud thunderstorms, storms that may have 40 to 50 mile per hour wind gusts and some heavier rainfall, but none of these that are up near Putnam County and you get to Jamestown, parts of southeastern Kentucky, really have any severe components with them. And likewise, as I mentioned, if you do hear some more storms start to fire up to the west side of Nashville, maybe up to the north side as well, or even if we get one in Nashville here over the next couple of hours, the atmosphere in those areas should pretty much be almost completely tapped out of any energy because the severe threat has already gone through. We still have a severe thunderstorm warning for Lawrence and into Giles, parts of Giles County, excuse me. You get out of parts of Bedford County, and there's that in motion now. I think that actually will be the main storm of concern. So if you live in the Manchester, the McMinnville areas, these are the main areas of focus right now. This is the main storm of focus. And I still think if you get towards Wartrace, you know what? I'm a little surprised. I don't think we've had much to talk about, but that does look like we're getting some decent rotation in those locations. It might not be terribly tight rotation or quick rotation, but it's at least showing some signs that this storm is spinning a little bit. Not great, but certainly something worth noting. I think when you go back to, First Alert Live radar, this gives you a much better picture of what we're looking at. So, you know, thunderstorms, they suck in a lot of air, they push out a lot of air as well, but it's that inflow notch where the air, all of that warm and moist air is getting pulled into the thunderstorm that is more concerning. And the reason for that simply just being here that when these storms are bringing in air like that, they're also lofting that air. So thunderstorms, especially when they get the severe levels, they have very strong updrafts. When they're bringing in a lot of air like that, and then they're bringing that air vertically, that's where you get rotation, and that's where you get a potential tornado warning. I think that's a great view, actually. Anything that would be that within that inflow is probably a little bit rain-wrapped right now, but this definitely shows a hail core. What Dan is showing right now is we can look at these storms in more of a vertical aspect. So this cloud top is probably shooting up to 30,000 feet, if not more than that. But as he drags back and forth through the storm, those deep pinks and purples and those blacks in there showing that hail core, but it's kind of where you lose all of that right near Wartrace, where you most likely have a little inflow. Might not be creating strong rotation right now, but obviously that could rapidly change. And yeah, those cloud tops again shooting over 30,000 feet, so you're up to about cruising altitude of some commercial airliners, if not above all of that. But this is really just the main focus right now. A lot of lightning in Bradyville, Bentonville, near Woodbury again. I mean, Woodbury just getting over a severe thunderstorm and a tornado warning not that long ago. But this is really just the spot to focus on. Did they extend that severe thunderstorm warning? No, they haven't yet. This is a severe thunderstorm warning for a separate cluster of storms that's off to the north and east of these areas. But I would not be surprised if this warning did eventually end up getting extended farther to the east, or if we maybe had a warning down through Franklin, Moore, and Lincoln counties as well here in the next couple of hours. A lot of heavier rainfall, by the way, that's back to the west, and we still looks like we have some warnings as we get a little farther to southwest middle Tennessee. Radars do have a limit on their range, and you can see where that limit is. But the farther you get out, you start to lose at least some resolution. But I'll tell you what, First Alert Live radar does a great job with picking up on a lot of that because it does sit at a good high elevation up in Nolensville. So that does give us a really good wide range of view of some of these storms, but still have some pretty good storms that are moving through parts of Lawrence County, Wayne County, into the southern portions of Hardin County as well. A lot of heavier rainfall now moving into the plateau. And then we still have that sneaky little storm that just popped up near Waverly. It's moving into Dixon County as well. Don't be surprised if that gets near downtown Nashville. But again, no severe weather threat probably with that one, simply just because there's just no energy left in the atmosphere. Does that mean we can't get some lightning, some heavier rainfall? Absolutely not. That still is on the table here. But as far as a severe threat is concerned, I'd be surprised if we ended up with much out of that. Got about 35 miles from where the front edge of that storm is now in Dixon County until it would reach about downtown Nashville. I'd say it's moving at about 40, 45 miles per hour. So, give or take maybe about 40 to 45 minutes or so, if not less than that for us here. So that storm probably just has heavier rainfall. I wouldn't expect much more from that. A little farther to the south. The good news is we have no tornado warnings. I think it's important, though, that we just kind of hang with you here because any of these storms could still spin up some rotation pretty quickly. We're almost done with this event. By the time we get to WSMV 4 today at about 4 o'clock, most of the mid-states should be clear, but I still think there's a couple of spots in far southeastern middle Tennessee. And again, where Dan is circling here, it's probably about what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8 counties, 9 counties that are left over that really had not had the chance to see any of these storms work their way through. But when they do, this whole environment is just completely untouched from any thunderstorm activity. So these storms are still going to have a lot of energy-rich environment to actually work their way through. But it does look like that this line of storms will continue to produce a lot of heavier rainfall, a lot of lightning as well, probably some good-sized hail, and certainly some gusty winds. And listen, even if they don't reach severe levels, a 40, 50 mile per hour wind gust is still enough to blow around any unsecured loose objects. It's enough to cause some down tree limbs, even some down trees, maybe cause some power outages. So all of that still, possible as we head through the rest of this of tonight. And then, we'll get a little bit of a break, but it's springtime in Middle Tennessee. We've got another severe threat right down the pipeline here for the middle of the week, Dan.
It's interesting, Stefano. Today, New York City got into the low 80s. This is the time of year when Nashville can even approach 90.
Really?
And so some of the computer models are saying as we get to Wednesday, we could soar into the 80s in advance of that next severe threat. So we got warm today. We were very humid. We could get even warmer and more humid in advance of this next round of severe weather. So, yeah, April kicks off here Tuesday. And so I don't know if you've heard the the phrase, everybody at home, March, comes in like a lamb and out like a lion, or vice versa. We used to say that a lot as kids. There was a big deal up north when we had big nor'easters. Well, it looks like, obviously, March is going out like a lion. And in April, we'll see how that comes in. But right now, Wednesday late is the time we'll have to watch. Hey, we talked to the Murray County Sheriff's Office. Some of our folks in the back did some research on this. And so they said, oh, yeah, absolutely damage in places. Hampshire Pike, South Cross Bridges Road. We talked about that road before. And it looks like Ashwood Road as well. 3 areas that have notable damage. Trees and debris everywhere. No injuries reported. Praise God for that. A house, quote, blown away at Rippey Lake Road. I don't know what that means, but that's what was that's the information received. In a shed blown away on Hampshire Pike. And so that speaks volumes to the rotation we saw before with the Columbia storm, the Murray County storm. And we'll see if this was just west of Columbia, because that's when the rotation really ramped up with a storm that's way east now. Things have settled down in Columbia, still south of Columbia. There's some pretty bad weather with potentially damaging wind gusts still coming from some of these downpours. A little stronger down toward Linville on the north side of Giles County, and that's going to move into the Lewisburg area. So Lewisburg, you've been in and out of the rain, flashes of downpours. You can see flashes of lightning as well, maybe sudden gusts of wind with this, and then more to come. And then there's Shelbyville, the stronger storm that continues to have a funny inflow notch and not show a tremendous amount of rotation, is just west of you, Manchester. So we said, hey, Manchester, 45 minutes ago, this is not the time to head to bed and just go to sleep on this thing. This is the time to stay plugged in. Severe thunderstorm warning for you. There could be some nickel to quarter size hail with this, and there could be some rotation trying to form up. We'll see. There's 24. Interstate 24. There it looks like there's a little rotation here. So we've got what radar are we tracking right now? What do we have?
OHX.
OHX. So we've got some inbound, some green, some red outbounds. So there is some circulation here. It's a little messy.
Huntsville, see what it looks like.
Sure. I don't know.
Hope I don't think that's Huntsville.
So Huntsville.
Let me fix that.
Is that high top, or is that HPX? Okay, so here's Huntsville's radar, and so west and north of Manchester, we'd be looking for reds and then greens because the radar is way down off the screen here. So that sort of thing. So it's around here, not far from the interstate, west of Manchester. We've got to watch this storm. Severe thunderstorm warning. There's a definite inflow notch, as that environmental air is being entrained and lifted up. And that's helping to make full the downpours, the lightning, the thunder, potentially that hail. And it's moving right over Manchester here shortly. So you hear the thunder in the distance. You might see the flashes of lightning, out the window if it's thin curtains or thin blinds. McMinnville, it's more calm. I mean, of course, you have a little more substantial rain than Manchester's dry right now. But this part of the storm doesn't look as strong as this part. This is where the updraft is feeding into the storm. So you have a better chance of more substantial hail, and then it's blown downstream in the jet stream winds. And so some of that comes this way, and that's why we're seeing some of these pink colors here. So it looks like very likely some sort of supercell here that's trying to get a little better identity moving through northern sections of Coffee County right now. There's that cell back to the west of Lewisburg. We're tracking that. And then these are farther from the radar site, so they're tricky to see. But, what gives it away sometimes is the lightning. Sometimes we'll see a little yellow, but we'll see a ton of lightning. So we'll flip on another radar that's closer to the storm, and then we'll see the brick reds and the pinks and the purples show up, and we'll say, hey, oh, absolutely, we get some strong storms. So you can see this is, I don't know if we're tracking, it looks like Memphis's radar, and you can see near Corinth, Mississippi, how strong that cell is, and it's going to hug the Tennessee-Alabama line as it moves east. A lot of lightning, a lot of thunder, a lot of rain where we need the rain the most. Southern Middle Tennessee is driest. It's the driest part of Middle Tennessee. We've been chipping away at this drought for months, many months, since last fall. And it may just go away. We'll see. It may just go away completely when we get the drought update on Thursday. So the drought monitor update takes data that ends on Tuesday, and so tonight is Sunday. So it's definitely going to take this rain data and encompass it, and that will reflect what is falling tonight. Notice that severe thunderstorm warning still in effect until 2, and so 2 in the morning there. Now the one that's up for Van Buren County, is that also 2 o'clock, Stefano?
Let me double check. I'm pretty sure that's 2 o'clock.
White County.
Yes.
Okay, 2 a.m. here. And so then we got to get into Cumberland County, Crossville. Hey, it looks like a pretty good cell in Monterey. Monterey is right here, where all of a sudden you go up 700 feet, 700 or 800 feet as you work your way to Monterey. So if you're going toward the Cumberland Plateau, you just start going up, and you go up steadily for about 4 minutes. And then you get to Monterey, which is almost at 2,000 feet above sea level. And this is over Monterey moving in right now. So
that one had a special weather statement on it too. So
did it?
Yeah,
okay.
40,
so
50 mile per hour gusts.
just below severe limit. So, and there's no surprise here that we would see that as it moves due eastbound. So the interstate actually does a funny thing and comes down here toward Crossville. So it's looks like it's gonna, pass over the interstate it is right now and then get northern Cumberland County. So probably a special weather statement for Cumberland too, or did it say Putnam or?
It's just Putnam.
Okay.
I may have gone into Cumberland as well. It was about 20 minutes ago. There is a new special weather statement though, Rutherford, Wilson, Murray, and Williamson. So I think that's for that little cell.
Interesting. Okay. So, and because we have colder air aloft moving in, so we've been waiting on the cold front, but the atmosphere is changing above our heads tonight. We've seen this in the forecast charts for days, knowing that in time we'd get the storms. Now we're getting some of that colder air aloft, and it's kicking off some storms, even though the lower part of the atmosphere is a little more stable. There still could be some hail with some of this stuff. And so the tornado threat is I think, done. And we out of the watch. Did they trim this watch back? They kill that watch?
Double check.
I think Dixon let's verify that. But the low levels are just not participating. So this is very likely. Is that Williamson that you're seeing that?
Oh, yeah, sorry, that was Williamson County, that tornado watch. So they've killed the watch for most areas west of 65 now.
Oh, okay, so we're looking at a heavy rain threat, a little lightning and thunder, and maybe some pea to dime size hail if it can do that. I mean, it's possible it could as we continue to cool above our heads a few miles up, and that will continue through the overnight. Okay, I just saw you flash the tornado watch, and it showed, Nashville points west, essentially done with that. It is going to be completely different tomorrow, temperature-wise. Where are we changing temperatures, Stefano? Like, what does Arkansas, Missouri look like right now? Have we fallen back into the 50s? Any 40s showing up?
Well, stand by. Let's get a look here and see.
Yeah, because this is a total air mass swap out.
Get that light
and so here are the blues. It's not going to feel like winter. I told my daughter today, do not even think about going out of the house in the morning when I take you to school with shorts on. It's not going to feel like it used to feel. It's going to be totally different. 60 right now, Nashville. Here are the 40s, 46 in St. Louis. And then we find 30s back in Nebraska, Iowa, up towards Chicago. It's just above freezing. So all this is coming down. Hey, we could even see in some areas Tuesday morning some frost. And so, again, it's an air mass change out, but it's not long-lived. Just like that, the warm air will take over again. And on Wednesday, Stefano will look at new data in a little bit, and he'll use that for the morning show. But on Wednesday, my guess is we'll be forecasting temperatures in the 80s for a good chunk of the mid-state. Now, here's the severe threat. Is this really a legit Thursday, or is this Wednesday night?
It's Wednesday night. The way that the I guess lower part of this works, it's the 24-hour run from 12 to 12.
Okay, so essentially Wednesday night. So here's the interesting thing with this next outbreak of severe weather. There'll be a cold front coming down, and then at least what I saw a couple days ago is that it would get stuck and then hang around here in northwest middle Tennessee. And so if that happens, most of the rain is going to fall where we have this threat zone in north and west. Okay, so good.
Rainfall.
Disregard this thing up here, but this is, and if that happens, it could rain off and on for 2 or 3 days in one area north and west of Nashville, and that could mean a flood threat. And so this is a predicted rainfall total over what period of time?
It's days 1 through 7, so it's today all the way through Saturday. Got
it. So it's taken into account, hey, we could get, inch to 2 inches tonight, and so many of us have done that. And then let's pop on top of that 4 to 6 inches of rain probably, potentially, where that front gets hung up. So that's what we're looking at down the road. Hey, April is just around the corner. It's a very busy time. We're not done with this outbreak yet, but as soon as we do get done with it, we get a day break. Tuesday's a good looking afternoon after that cold start, and then we have to deal with more severe weather potential there for Wednesday night. Several warnings for severe thunderstorms. The orange polygons indicate that. So, look at all this. This whole area still has to be traversed by these storms. So we've got a ways to go on the Tennessee-Alabama line. But even the mid-Cumberland Plateau, not that long to go. It's 1:39 in the morning, and I think our severe threat will be done on the mid-Cumberland Plateau probably about an hour from now. So things winding down here for severe weather, things in a little bit there, and then things in several hours. You know, probably again about 4 in the morning, things getting out of Sherwood down toward the south and east. All right, this is how much rain has fallen with this system alone. And so again, some of you have putting some grass seed down, or you just want to get things going. You want to get out to cutting the lawn because you missed that. Not me, but some of you just like being out there, and I like to be out there, I guess, a little bit. But this rain is going to help. This rain's going to help. We haven't gotten the rain down here yet. We've gotten soaked in through here. Now, there's a little contamination from some of the hail, but for the most part, this is legit. 1 to 2 inches of rain have fallen with this system, and everybody's going to close out with about that amount of rain. And again, we're not done. Lightning is off, but this is electrical. There could be some Peter-Dime-size hail, but just the chance of tornadoes on the backside of all of this is dropped to pretty much zero, because the air mass has changed out. It's just too stable for that. So it's just what we call elevated, thunderstorms, or storms that are above. They're not talking with the surface. They're just above our heads, so to speak, for the threats. So severe thunderstorm warning here in Marshall County. Severe thunderstorm warning there in parts of Bedford. Big severe thunderstorm warning in Coffee. You can see the severe thunderstorm warnings all the way back toward Lawrenceburg and then down into Mississippi. So still a ways to go. Lincoln County, Franklin, looks like even more out of all of this still, Stefano.
Yeah, and by the way, it's also getting a little hard to pinpoint here what exact cell they're looking at with some of these storms. And that's simply just because of how many storms there are that have fired up at this point. I still think one of the main concerns, or areas of concern, that is rather out near Manchester, the Tullahoma areas. So, I mean, in Manchester right now, it is about to start pouring in that area, and also probably some pretty good hail as well. Let me take this severe thunderstorm warning graphic and slide it up to the top of the screen here, just so I can give you an idea. See where that black color indicated is right near 24. It's crossing over 24. It's near Oak Hill Road, State Route 2, looks like Ballard Road as well. That's a pretty good indication that we have some good size hail. This will also head and cross over Highway 55 as well. Morrison, we're getting a lot of heavier rainfall right now, but I'll tell you what, we are not in the core of the worst of that severe thunderstorm at this point. That's a little bit farther back and to the west. And I will tell you this, I want to take things back for a second, because I know Dan just pointed this out. This storm that's developed in Dixon County, the National Weather Service is watching it. It just put a special weather statement down on it. So special weather statement, not a severe thunderstorm warning, but it is telling us that this storm is still going to cause some problems. It does look like that the main hazard, like we were talking about, half-inch sized hail with this one. And that's, again, because in the upper levels of the atmosphere, we're getting some replacement now with some colder air. So as these storms grow and they get some height to them in the upper levels, you get some freezing, you get up to the freezing point, and some hail to form and accumulate, and then, that eventually drops down. Half-inch size hail, certainly not enough to cause any damage to your car, but it is enough to damage maybe some vegetation if you started planting already. Hopefully you haven't done it too much, but still showing us there could be some problems. And by the way, this does go into Dixon County, so I think if I were to throw the track on this, yeah, you really get a good look that storm is moving through parts of Dixon County right now. It's ending up in the parts of Cheatham County, and it's going to end up into Davidson County as well. Could even hit downtown Nashville. Time is 1:43. I think the tornado threat in that area, so with that cell you're looking at that's right over Dixon right now, I think the tornado threat is over in that location. But we still have all these severe thunderstorms that are firing up and continuing to keep their strength in the plateau, in areas in southeast middle Tennessee as well. Areas that are untouched at this point, still parts of Lincoln, more Franklin County, the very southeastern portions at this point of Coffee County, and eventually Altamont. We will eventually get some of this rainfall as well. But there's still a lot of lightning in this view. Still a lot of areas right now that are seeing, a tremendous number of lightning, and also probably some 50, 60 mile per hour winds right now as well. Looks like the National Weather Service also updating us. Warren, White, and Van Buren counties, this would be this particular cell that's right near McMinnville. So kind of looks like what they're going to do here is that severe thunderstorm warning that's in effect right there. They're just going to not only expand it, but they'll probably fill it to include more of those counties. So the southern portions now of Warren, Van Buren, and continue that into White County as well. And eventually we'll get into Cumberland County, into Crossville on top of that. But Manchester, I think it's noteworthy for sure. The rotation has kind of died off. That was just to the west of Manchester, so I don't think that there's really that much of a concern of a spin-up tornado, at least at this moment. I do want to take a look at the velocity, though. Let me see if I can stop this so we can get a better view of some of the wind speeds in here. It's not great. Can't get that good of a view, but, we still have the severe thunderstorm warning on there, so it's at least 60 mile per hour winds, if not more than that. First Alert Live radar still has a ton of heavy rain. There's a lot of lightning in that cell, and it's probably been a good hail producer as well. Yeah, there's the hail swath back near War Trace, Bell Buckle. Again, the radar may not be the best at fully pinpointing what hail size is, but it can at least show us where the hail has been. Sometimes it's better to rely on hail reports from people than just go off the radar on its own. Let's get rid of some of that fancy stuff that just popped up. By the way, still a lot of heavier rainfall. Shelbyville, War Trace, Christiana, Bradyville, and still some good rumbles of thunder as well, some frequent lightning. We saw that here in Davidson County when I was on my way in around midnight. The worst of the storm had passed, but there was a lot of lightning. I actually have a video I'll have to share later. I was walking out of my front door when the tower, the radio tower, I caught it on our Ring camera, got hit by lightning as I was leaving this morning, and that happens quite a lot here in Davidson County. That radio tower, if you live near the Knob Road area in the vicinity off of White Bridge Pike, excuse me, a lot of lightning tends to strike that tower, and I'm sure it wakes a lot of people up. Speaking of lightning, a lot of it back near Lewisburg right now. That's in the parts of Marshall County. You get back to Murray County as well. We still have some good storms to the east, but kind of giving us a good break in Columbia, thank goodness. We just got some pretty significant damage reports through parts of Murray County, so that's something to be assessed later on. I'm sure the National Weather Service will be closely monitoring that as well, but it's just this cluster of strong to severe thunderstorms right now. I mean, these are extending through Marshall, Bedford. It's into parts of Rutherford County, really getting into Coffee County, southeastern Cannon County. We're into Warren County, Van Buren County, White counties. Eventually, for those of us in Lincoln, Moore, and Franklin County, we still have some pretty good storm activity to go. And another cell to watch is, as we pointed out so many times this morning, and Dan said not that long ago, I think that you've lost a good amount of energy back into Wayne and Lawrence counties from the first cluster of storms that has gone through. But look at all of the lightning that's back to the west in those areas, just to the south of Waynesboro, even that cell near Lawrenceburg. I know that these don't look as impressive as some of the other storms that have come through, like the storm you're seeing out near Lewisburg, but this is also a lot farther away from the radar, so you don't get as good of a view with that range. But that being said, you still get a good view with the lightning here of just how much we're actually seeing. It's interesting. It's about the height of the radar beam here is about 18,000 feet. So, you're up quite a ways. So the radar's not exactly cutting the storm as well as it would when we get a little bit farther to the south and east, which you can see the radar beam getting ready to come into view here from the top down. It's just crossing over where it says total lightning strikes 392. There it is sweeping across McMinnville, Manchester. That's much closer to the radar site. Not a lot of obstructions there. Actually, some of these storms that are off to the south and west, some of the hail can be obstructing some of this radar beam as it works its way through. But I really do think this is our area of concern from Tullahoma to Manchester. There's Winchester as well, Fayetteville, all of these areas, Lincoln, Moore, and Franklin County. And now really a lot of Coffee County at this point is really just getting a pounding from some of these storms. And lightning is just one of the main things that we're seeing. But heavy rainfall, gusty winds, and probably some good-sized hailstones as well. And we talked about this earlier on, too. What I'm going to turn on here, these are the storm reports that have come in just across the mid-state. And a lot of this isn't necessarily populated right now. You know, there's obviously been a lot more storm reports, or are going to be a lot more storm reports that have come in at this point. A lot of these are coming in from train spotters, you know, areas like Cannon County severe weather, the emergency management directors as well. We will get more storm reports as we get into the daylight hours and as people wake up to start off their days. And of course, you know, we did have what was a radar estimated tornado, or a radar indicated tornado on the ground. We had that debris signature, which is a pretty good telltale sign. That was near the McEwen area, with the report of a rooftop gone on the house. So the next step for that will be the National Weather Service will send out a survey team to that area to confirm whether it was a tornado that in fact caused that damage, or if it was something like straight line damaging winds. And what they'll tend to look at in that area is kind of what the damage field looks like. Is it much more sporadic, or is everything kind of blown over in one direction? Here's another thunderstorm wind damage report. This was in Fairview. You have multiple trees down. This is along Highway 100. It was right near the Williamson County line. And of course, the time here is just estimated based on the radar and what time that ended up coming through. We had some pretty good size hail as well. You got ping pong size hail. That was right into Franklin. I remember watching that storm getting ready to come into here, and we've had some reports of golf ball sized hail, and that certainly is enough to cause some damage to the car. You know, a lot of golfers here in the mid-state. Imagine hitting your car with a golf ball. It's certainly going to cause a lot of damage. But look at all of the damage reports that have come down just across the heart of the country, the central portions of the U.S. and all the way up through the Great Lakes. This has been one massive storm system. I mean, coming over the last 24 hours, and we're right in the heart of severe weather season. You go back in time, which is what Dan is doing. If you look up to the top left of your screen, you can see all of these storm reports populate, including a couple of confirmed tornadoes as well. And yeah, now what's going on here is it's also overlaid with the radar as well. But look at that line. There's that cold front we were talking about. Remember, we alerted about this back on, I think it was Monday, to give you that early heads up that something is coming our way. And that certainly has happened. You know, we certainly got that severe weather outbreak that we were talking about earlier in the week. And there's still more to come. Right now, we'll see a lot of the central portion of the country take a little bit of a break. There's all of that cold air that's coming in behind this. It's not going to get ridiculously cold again. It's not going to drop down to the 20s or the teens that Dan's populating off to the north and west. But yeah, I think we get some 30s. Tonight into Tuesday morning, there could be some frost, and that cold air really is just going to invade the mid-state here. I mean, it is 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock in the morning almost now, and we're still sitting in the 60s. Very warm. It's very humid, cool, colder and drier air will work its way back in. On the back side of that, you can see some 40s back to St. Louis. Little Rock is down to 59. I'm sure we're getting some 50s now, or at least close to that probably, Dan, into the northwest portions of Tennessee. Maybe near the Tiptonville area, some 50s probably dropping into parts of southern Kentucky as well. Yeah, there we go. It's close to Tiptonville, I think, right to the north and west. But still 60s right now. Expect the temperature to drop pretty rapidly, though, I think, through the rest of this morning. And honestly, we'll probably see our temperature struggle a little bit through this afternoon as well, with that colder air taking back over. But we still have a nice line of storms developing, or I guess I should say excuse me, continuing across southeast portions of the mid-state. There's a cell to watch. Getting into parts of Dixon County, it's now getting out of Dixon County and it's into Cheatham County, or at least knocking on the door near Ashland City. There's Pegram, and it probably is going to hit downtown Nashville as well. Wouldn't be concerned about a tornado threat with that one, but there could be some very small hail in there, some downpours, and some good shots of lightning as well. Light rain, Franklin down through Brentwood. I know Franklin, we had those reports of hail. We had some gusty, damaging winds as well, but kind of clearing things out. It'd be very difficult to get anything overly severe off to the west at this point once this line goes through and kind of taps out the lower levels of the atmosphere of all of its energy. This is still the main area of focus. Yeah, there's that severe thunderstorm warning we talked about. That just kind of got expanded to include areas of White, Van Buren County. We're getting into the southern portions of Warren County now, and there's Altamont as well. Still not really anything in that area. So, when this storm comes through, it's going to pack quite a punch as it does so. That's why that severe thunderstorm warning is there. We're talking a lot of heavy rainfall, probably some good hail, at least 40, 50 mile per hour winds. It probably gets up to about 60 miles per hour, though. There's that hail core. There's Highway 55. It just crossed over 24. Probably half-inch size, maybe a little bit less than that. It might not be very large hail, but it's more than likely a very dense area of hail. So it doesn't necessarily have to be large hail to give us a return like that, but it can be a lot of small hail. If you remember the last storm we had, and it kind of feels like all of these are just starting to blend together at this point, but we had hail that looked like it had snowed 2 or 3 inches in some spots, and I think that was actually through parts of Williamson County not that long ago. So this is the area most likely seeing some pretty good hail near Forest Mill. There's Ragsdale as well. This is moving to the east, and most of these at about 40, 45 miles per hour. So that still warned at this point. It's going to head a little bit farther to the east. Sayneville, there's Winton Town as well, Asbury, all of these areas. Still under that second severe thunderstorm warning that extends a little farther to the east. But hey, there's a lot of heavy rain now from Melrose Park. There's Westwood Homes, Manchester, Westwood, Shady Acres as well, Hillcrest and Blackjack, all those areas still getting a very heavy rainfall at this point. And that hail core, I think, is one of the big areas of focus on top of that. Crossing over 55. It already crossed over 24 north of Manchester. So here's some good news. As you get ready to go to bed, hopefully you can get some good sleep over the next couple of hours. This will be gone by the morning commute, but I still want you to allow for some extra time because a lot of the secondary and back roads that we might not be getting storm reports on right now, we could still run into a lot of problems. We're not going to see any major flooding on the interstates. That's not really an issue for us, but with all of this, that still has to push through areas on the southeast side of the city. We still have the capability of producing some damaging wind gusts, down trees, power lines, all of that. Some power outages will be possible, but it's those secondary and back roads where we don't get the reports immediately where, you could find a down power line, you could find some tree limbs down. And please remember, if you do see a down power line, it's never advised to try to drive over that because that line could still be live. If you do see any of that, even if you're just out and about in your neighborhood walking around later this morning, never approach a down power line. Okay, so off to the north and west, still have that cell that's moving into Davidson County and just to the south of Clarksville now as well, but no severe threat. Far south of Middle Tennessee, southern Middle Tennessee, I should say, we still have some very heavy rainfall. I haven't seen any more signs of rotation. Dan, that certainly is good news at this point. Doesn't necessarily mean one of these storms couldn't spin something up, but it does look like the tornado threat is rapidly diminishing on us.
It is, and so a handful of counties still to watch, but we're not going anywhere. You're going to be here through the morning show.
Yes.
And we have our overnight crews who have come in. They came in many hours ago, and they're starting to put things together for your morning show. And then we've got crews in the field who are going to be getting information. So in just 2 hours, we're going to have a full report of what happened overnight. And then a look at the next event Wednesday night.
And then realistically, too, Thursday, Friday, Saturday in some areas. I mean, we're going to talk about it at 4 o'clock. So much heavier rainfall that while there's a severe threat, a flooding threat extends out beyond that.
Right, exactly so. And this is the time of year. 'Tis the season. You put a video. If you don't have the First Alert Weather app, it's an awesome app. I mean, of course, we like it because we produce videos for it and all the forecasts. But there's some very helpful videos, and you put one on there that essentially says what this spring is going to hold for more rounds of severe weather. And this is the time of year. So you're going to stay plugged into the First Alert Weather team in WSMV4. And a great way to do that is this morning with the morning show.
It certainly is. We'll be right here back on WSMV4 this morning at 4 a.m.